I follow so many people who live in England, and they're all just living their lives. They're going to patio season. I mean, they're taking advantage of patio season.
That one famous street, like Oxford Street, packed.
It's because so many people are vaccinated, so they're just like living their lives again. They get to travel soon. I don't know. I'm super envious.
We're like no end in sight.
I know, we're in here for another 4 weeks.
Ugh.
No one else, I mean, other than, like the US is out practically. Just Canada.
Yeah, trying to find a new apartment in a pandemic. It's great.
Yeah, it sucks. Hey, I did that.
It's true, you did at the beginning and I'm going to move at the end.
We bookended this pandemic. I know, Jack and I were talking about that the other day. Like, do you think we're going to have to help them move?
We're going to hire movers this time, don't worry.
You are?
We're like, after 30, you have to hire movers.
I don't know. I feel like movers just break your stuff a lot.
Can you be an interior designer for me?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Because our new apartment is like modern. Different vibe.
No, but this is a cardinal mistake. You don't buy furniture for your apartment. You buy furniture for your vibe. It's essentially an empty space, and you fill it with your personality. Don't be constrained by your apartment.
No, we don't want to get super modern, but I just don't feel like I want a chocolate brown couch in that place.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely fair. All right, let's get started.
Hi, everyone. It's Lindsay.
And Tamara.
And you're listening to Take Me to Chelsea, a podcast where two Canadians rewatch and discuss the hit UK reality show Made in Chelsea. Today, we are discussing Season 1, Episode 5, Take Your Passion, Make It Happen, which originally aired on June 6, 2011.
Okay, a lot happens in this episode, so buckle up. Francis and Fred both go on dates this week, but back at the office, news of Fred's date with Agne reaches Francis, and he noticeably cools towards his new intern. Hugo laments his circumstances to a sympathetic Spencer, and surprise, surprise, being torn between two women is not as much fun as it sounds. Ultimately, he decides to end things with Millie and admit he has feelings for Rosie. But Rosie's not down for being sloppy seconds. Meanwhile, our Caggy, Spencer, Funda love triangle becomes a love square when we're introduced to, drumroll please, Louise Thompson. Although Funda initially brushes off Louise's warnings about Spencer and Caggy, her relationship with Spencer is clearly at its breaking point. Last but not least, we continue to see the fallout from Ollie and Gabby's breakup and the stress it's putting on Gabby's friendship with the girls.
So let's pop the champagne.
Okay, so first of all, I need to issue a retraction of my opinion from last week. It's very obvious from this episode that Millie does know that Rosie is into Hugo, and she just doesn't seem to care that much. I mean, I have to say that I think she's still the type of person that cares about her friends, and she wants her friends to be happy, but she needed something more from Rosie to actually stop with what she was doing with Hugo.
Yeah, I think this one, I don't know, this whole triangle in this episode felt really weird to me. We barely have seen Hugo and Rosie interact, and now it's like full on, everybody's like, oh, Hugo likes Rosie, and Rosie knows it, and Hugo knows it, and Kaggy, everyone knows it, but it's like, where did this come from? And then if everyone knows it, Millie knows it, and she's full on continuing to pursue Hugo, so it just makes me wonder what the motivations were, because she seems to actually really like Hugo, so I don't think she's doing it just for the show. I just wonder, like, where, I think there's like a huge gulf that we missed. Like, did you feel that way too watching this? It was just like...
Yeah, definitely.
What happened between this and the last, where it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh, of course Hugo likes Rosie. It's like, was that so? Like, I did not see that happen.
I'm on the same page as you. I don't think it was a very natural narrative. I think something happened, or potentially this love triangle predated the series and they just sort of, tapped into it midway through. And so everyone who knows about it already knows about it. They didn't need to necessarily show the progression, but I'm not really sure what happened, to be honest.
Yeah, because I feel like that scene with Rosie and Hugo in the library at the end could have or should have been way more emotive than it was, but because we weren't really with them on that journey, it just started basically last episode. And
You mean emotive for like the audience?
Yeah, for everybody involved. That was like a pretty big dramatic moment. It should have been, but we weren't invested.
I think this speaks to kind of the whole MIC first series, though. We have these huge moments that are happening right away, and it's really attractive to an audience, but because we don't know the characters well enough, we're not emotionally with them yet. So it doesn't carry that same weight. And the same reason we weren't getting choked up about Gabby and Ollie breaking up. I mean, that was obviously heartbreaking for them, but I think it's probably the tone of the whole show and where we're brought in. Like, all of these dynamics are in full-fledged form by the time we get there. So yeah, there's not the same kind of emotional weight.
True, but there is, for example, like we'll talk about in a bit, but like the weight of Funa and Spencer at the end, it's way more felt because they spent time on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point.
Now we're just like, I really just didn't feel this as a thing.
Are you saying for Millie or for Rosie? Because with Rosie, she was so guarded with her emotions the whole time. I'm not surprised we weren't there with her when she turned down Hugo. I honestly, watching it, I had no idea what her true feelings were. Did she like him, or was she just... I mean, part of me just thought she just didn't want to be sloppy seconds. Like, she was no longer entertaining the idea of Hugo because she was second choice, ostensibly.
Yeah, she didn't seem super invested, and it was more like her cliche reasons for not wanting to do it. We're just like, oh, I'm so busy, I have things going on, or...
I know, she pulled out all the excuses.
Yeah.
Like, every excuse in the book, like, I'm busy, I need to focus on me, I've got exams.
Yeah, but if you have any, like, spark towards a person, like, you'd never say that.
It wouldn't be an excuse. I did feel bad for Millie, though. What I thought about when I was watching that part of it, when we see Hugo end things with Millie prematurely, is how much of it was put in after, clearly edited, because this sort of, in real life, a conversation like that wouldn't be, I'm actually interested in Rosie, so I'm not going to see you anymore. Like, that's not how that conversation clearly unfolded. We see Hugo, the only time we actually see him, like, actually speaking and his lips moving in line with what's going on in that scene, he just says, I think we're, let's keep going the way we are. We're better as friends. But he doesn't even say something like that.
I know, I was thinking when he said that, oh, keep going the way they are. Okay, so, like, have, like, mad sexual tension and make out.
But I think he was saying, oh, we've been friends for so long, we've had this chemistry for so long, let's keep things going the way they are. And then they put in the rest of it, which was Hugo saying, I'm into Rosie. I don't think that happened at all. I don't think that, but that just speaks to kind of how real life is. We dance around these topics. No one wants to, like, forcefully reject someone. So they just say something like that and hope that cushions the effect, but hopefully gets their message across as well. I just thought it was interesting because it's a staple of a reality TV show. They don't show everything and they kind of add in those obvious points later.
Okay, so even if there's some maybe orchestration or editing after the fact, the fact still remains that we have a bunch of scenes of Hugo brushing off Millie or her feelings or her worth as a girlfriend with his friends, because we have the scene early on with Francis and Spencer where it's kind of like brutally honest. It's really rough. What we've been saying before, how he uses Millie for, like, sexual release or the flirty banter, the excitement.
She's not girlfriend material, essentially.
Yeah, it's like, is she like a sex object to you? Like, is she your friend and a sex object to you, and that's, like, how you want to, like, portray her?
I think because Hugo's had this chemistry with Millie for so long, he's never really entertained the idea that this could be serious. So I think he sees her, yeah, as kind of like a fun flirt, but nothing with a future. Whereas with Rosie, I feel like they're just considered to be more on the same level. Whereas Millie is very flirtatious and fun, but I don't know that she is, in Hugo's perspective, future girlfriend.
Yeah, and that's what pisses me off though, because I just really don't like how he kind of treats Millie. And I don't think you would treat a friend that way or speak about your friend that way. And they're diminishing her, and they're just diminishing her to like a sexual object in a way.
No, I 100% agree. And I think this has to do with their age a little bit because, yeah, they're friends, but they're not friends in the same way that Kagi and Hugo are. Kagi and Hugo are clearly actual mates. There's a respect there, whereas Millie, they're friends. I'm doing air quotes right now. I don't think there's a genuine friendship there. I think that Kagi and Hugo are mates, and Millie's really good friends with Kagi. And so there's a group friendship, but there's no real one-on-one friendship there.
All right, so on the topic of love triangles, what do you think of Agne, Frances, and Rebecca?
And Fred.
Oh, yes. So maybe another love square.
Honestly, I don't really want to talk about these people. I find like this is the most boring storyline of the entire series so far. Trying to find Francis love, and I don't know, it went from Kagi, and then it was Agne, and now it's Rebecca. I did like when he skateboarded into the restaurant and bailed. That was
iconic.
Francis is upset that Agne and Fred went on a date because when why do I keep calling her Agnes? I don't know. Agne gets back to the office and he's like picking up diamonds and she's just trying to joke with him about, oh, do you think this one looks good? And he just shuts her down. I don't know. It's really hard to get on board with these two or with this situation. It's just not really that much fun to watch.
No, and if they're trying to make a, interesting love triangle between Fred, Frances, and her, it's just not working. Like, there's no chemistry between her and Fred. The date was pretty awful. More of this kind of like misogyny weirdness with Agne, and she's, not innocent. She's playing into it. Fred said something and she said, I like when a man like implying like tells her what to do.
Yes, I hate that. And I've met women who have said the same thing to me and I've never understood it. And there's nothing wrong. Everyone's turned on by what they're turned on by. That's totally fine. But it is interesting, this line. I mean, I know that you and I were sort of raised with this, ultra feminism. You don't want to be in a position where a guy's telling you anything. No. But I found this super cringy.
It continues a bit with the Frances situation where she's kind of implying with her comments that she's waiting for a man to put a big diamond on her finger. Like, she's waiting for that.
Hold on, though. If you had, 10 beautiful diamonds in front of you, you're saying that you wouldn't, hold it up to your finger and be like, this would be nice.
No, it's implying that, she wants that from him or a man.
I think she was joking. I honestly think that I think she's kind of told to flirt with him. And he's aware that she's told to flirt with him. And I think he's trying to because he's obviously attracted to her. But I think he's not down with playing the game set by the producers. And he wants to play it himself. I'm starting to guess that that's why it's so jarring sometimes where he kind of flips on her. But I think she was joking with the whole diamond thing.
I just don't, even if she is, again, with this whole storyline, it's just not worth our time.
I know, especially when you've got Kagi and Louise and Millie and Hugo, and this just seems like such a C plot. It's not even a B plot. It's a C. Yeah, it's a waste of time. Let's get to the drama. Okay, in this episode, we are introduced to Louise, which is huge because this is a character who's with us basically the entirety of the series as a whole. She's no longer in it now in season 21, but she's there a chunk of the time.
Yeah, I forgot she was in the first season, actually.
So early, too. I mean, I knew she was in the first season because I remember her with Funda, but to have her in episode 5, like that seems early to me.
She looks so young. Like, she looks amazing now, obviously, too, but it's just like her baby face.
I found, yeah, so interesting dynamic because she's obviously still somewhat taken with Spencer. And I'm not saying actively liking him, but when he walks in the room, she's kind of giggly, whereas with Funda, she's kind of cold and really giving her warnings. But I didn't think it didn't come off as like girl to girl warning, like blah, blah. It kind of seemed territorial, like I've been there. This has been my man as well, and this is what I faced.
It's like the same thing that I went through, you're gonna go through. Like, you're not special.
Yeah, exactly. Even though you live with him. Kind of a weird dynamic. And then also a little tidbit that came out was that Caggie and Spencer have apparently kissed at some point.
Yeah, when did that happen?
Interesting wording by Spencer, though, because he talks about it to Funda, and it's like, I definitely don't recall kissing Caggie. But, like, this is your ultimate crush for years and years. You remember kissing her. I don't care. Like, you remember. Even if you're drunk, you would remember.
Mm-hmm.
I feel bad for Funda because I think she's still trying. After all of Spencer's BS and all the crap he's put her through, she's still making effort to hang out with his friends. Still trying to kind of handle the situation and come out the other side. But she just keeps getting knocked down.
Yeah, so Funda, again, like she has displayed previously, is just a very, lovely, friendly person being thrown into this uncomfortable situation. And I found especially the scene where the 3 women are hanging out at the bar and Spencer walks in, like, so staged. Like, they're just standing there awkwardly waiting for him to arrive, and it's like...
None of them are talking, really.
No, they weren't at all. Keggy was just, like, looking uncomfortable, just, like, waiting for him to get there so they could just, like, do the scene or whatever.
But in terms of, like, intimidation, like, Louise seems slightly intimidated by Spencer, even Funda, but Caggie is so chill. Like, she's not even on their level.
Mm-hmm.
Or they're not on her level.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, this is no longer a feasible situation. Like, they both feel it, even though we don't really see it on camera too much. Clearly, like, Funda is at her limit. Spencer's clearly somehow at his limit, even though a moment ago he was declaring, like, I still have so much respect for my girlfriend. And then he goes home and breaks up with her.
Yeah, like, the funny thing is when he was talking to Hugo about Funda, he was saying such lovely things about how wonderful
she's the nicest person.
Yeah, and she makes him better, and Keggie's like someone he likes to have fun with, and it's like this was a year-long relationship, mm-hmm. right? This was like they lived together because he had a few minutes of fame on the show.
No, but he wouldn't even have had that at this point. This is the very first season, so it wouldn't have been released yet, so there would have been no fame.
I guess like the thought of fame because he knew he was on TV.
Yeah, I think when he was talking about how nice Funda was, he was trying to justify it to himself why he should stay with her, but he realized ultimately it wasn't working. I had such a moment when I was watching Funda at home. It's like you can just understand why it didn't work, because you've got Spencer who wants to go out and party all the time and flirt and be Spencer, and then you have Funda at home like chilling with a candle as like 28-year-olds do. Like, she's 27, 28. Like,
love me a good candle.
I get it. Yeah, like that's what I want to do too on like a Saturday night. I don't want to go out and get smashed with my friends as much anymore.
Yeah, and she was like, have fun with your friends. I'll see you. Like, she wasn't, holding it against him or trying to stop him like some more immature people would do. She's like, you do your thing. I'm independent. I'm comfortable enough with our relationship. Like, I'll do my thing and we'll go home together.
But so do you think this is actually when they broke up? Because I saw Funda like crying and it felt real to me, but at the same time, isn't it more emotional than that?
It felt like, and this is again total projection, but it felt like it felt like it wasn't a surprise, but she was obviously very upset, but she was trying to like hold back, keep it together, hold back her like emotions, because I think she was aware she was on camera. All right, we can't forget our favorite social outcasts, Ollie, Cheska, and Binky.
Our favorite social outcasts.
Well, they're never a part of the club.
I know, this is weird, right? I wonder what the intention was behind this. Like, why didn't they just limit it to the one social scene?
Well, they don't have enough material, obviously.
Yeah. But Francis isn't part of it either. But you're right, Ollie and Binky and Cheska is always like kind of an afterthought at this point, even though they're really fun. I mean, I love watching them, so.
Yeah. Although this was probably a weak point for me with them, because I feel like the whole Binky between Ollie and Gabby thing didn't really work. It just felt very fake.
Especially because the first couple of episodes, you see Ollie and Cheska and Binky as friends with Ollie, and then Ollie's with Gabby, but you don't really see the three women hanging out a lot. It's just like they all hang out together. So yeah, I wasn't really convinced by Binky being torn between Ollie and Gabby.
So the first episode or two, it's like, yeah, the girls didn't really know Gabby very well. Gabby calling Binky like, oh, what are you up to? Who are you with? It was so forced. And then Ollie asking, oh, who was that? And Binky saying, oh, no one. Like, obviously, Ollie knew who it was, or Binky would have told him. Binky was doing her best acting that, but it just didn't work.
Yeah. I'm really happy for Ollie in this moment, though, because I liked when she said, oh, should we go hit up some boys? And, he's taking the time to figure out whatever's going on with him. And I like this moment for him where he's just having fun with his friends, and he's not stressed about relationships, and he's not stressed about Gabby. And it's this kind of like break before it all kind of goes to hell. Can we take a moment in this episode to talk about the nicknames? Because I've had this on my list of things I want to talk about on this podcast, and we haven't addressed it yet. We've just been like speaking about Binky and Kagi and Cheska and Agne and all these, like, okay, from Canada, you would never hear these types of names. Like, Kagi is the weirdest name I've ever heard.
Or Catherine.
Yeah, no, and we know that, but do you remember when we first started watching this? We're like, what the hell? Like,
yeah.
Kagi? What is this? It's so British, and like Binky, like that's not a name that you hear here at all.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm so used to it now because we've been watching this show for so long. But yeah, I think we were talking about like a friend of ours, having a baby and then names, and we were just thinking like, it's just like, would it just completely not fit to have a name like that in Canada? Not to say you couldn't have a name like that, it just doesn't fit.
No, it doesn't at all. But can you imagine, like, I had a child and I named my child Binky? Like, you'd be like, what? But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is not uncommon. This is very common for the UK. And for our UK listeners, this is not common in Canada. We just name all of our children like Olivia and Sophie and Sarah and Mike. Like that's you basically have like 5 names to choose from, and if you choose anything weirder, then you're gonna, I don't know, run into trouble. Okay, Linz, what was your favorite moment?
Yeah, my favorite moment was probably the yoga meditation scene. It makes me laugh every time. Cheska's little speech about Gabby.
And we were left with you.
Yeah, we were left with you. Like, God damn it, Ollie, you're left with your cast-offs.
Such a good moment.
What about you, Tam? What was your favorite moment?
Okay, my favorite part of this episode was when they were having a super serious conversation as Kagi, Hugo, and Spencer. And all of a sudden, they start going off about how amazing pugs are. Like, they're like, I want to get a pug. I really want to get a black pug. And, like, I love pugs. And it's just, I love, like, it's the same kind of ideas you're seeing with, or your favorite scene in this episode. And that's, like, something I love so much about this show every single time I watch it, is these just genuinely funny moments that are really human and they're not put together. Yeah, that's my favorite. So, Linz, what are we listening to this week?
Yeah, so nothing too exciting this week, but we do have a couple of tracks by Phoenix. I remember hearing them. I was like, oh, yeah.
Wasn't that an MGMT song in there as well?
I don't think there's MGMT in this episode. They all sound the same. Those early, 10s, I don't know what you call that decade. Early 2010s, those indie rock bands back then, they all kind of sound the same, but we liked them.
We loved them.
Hard to differentiate.
All right, guys, that is it for episode 5. Next week, we are obviously going to Cannes, France, with Spencer, Hugo, Millie, and Kagi, and I'm super curious to watch the rest of that episode because all I remember from this next episode is them being on Cannes and being on a yacht.
And looking amazing and tan and beautiful.
I know, that's literally all I think about is how great they looked on this yacht. I'm like, that life goal is right there. As always, we want to hear what you think. Leave us a comment on our Instagram. Do you think Hugo made the right decision choosing Rosie over Millie? Do you think we're being too harsh about Agne and Francis? Are you living for this storyline or are you as bored of it as we are? Until next time.